Elizabeth, recently I went to my college reunion and with two of my roommates, we got an Airbnb right near campus and it was so fun. It was so fun to stay together. We had a kitchen. We could just hang out in such a comfortable way. And it was so convenient to all the places that we wanted to go. And all of us are really picky eaters. And we could all have our own kind of snacks all loaded up into the kitchen so that we could have exactly what we wanted whenever we wanted it. It just wouldn't have been the same if we had stayed at a hotel. It really added to my whole experience of my reunion.
And also, Gretchen, you don't have to deal with noisy hotel hallways, cramped rooms. You can really tailor it for what you want. Are you trying to figure out what to eat for dinner yet again? With Knorr's sides and bouillon, you can whip up delicious and nutritious weeknight dinners in no time.
Yes, I am the biggest fan of Knorr bouillon and of Knorr taste combos. Knorr taste combos are a menu of delicious, affordable, and well-balanced meals that you can prepare at home in 30 minutes or less. Knorr is the not-so-secret ingredient from its bouillon to its rice and pasta sides that brings major flavor to delicious home-cooked meals. Visit Knorr.com to make your own delicious taste combo. It's not fast food, but it's so good. Hello, we're here for More Happier, a podcast where we get more happier. Earlier this year, I had a great conversation on the Getting Curious with Jonathan Van Ness podcast, where we talked about our New Year's resolutions. Recently, I sat down with Jonathan again to see how things have been going now that we're halfway through the year. And today, we're bringing that conversation to you. I talked to Jonathan about relating to social media and also my appreciation for an electric foot warmer. We also talked about the importance of being tender with ourselves and the satisfaction of a ta-da list. Plus, we talked about why it's surprising, but also not that surprising, that the most common category of results for my Habits for Happiness quiz are answers related to cultivating creativity. This was such a terrific and fascinating conversation with Jonathan Van Ness. Hope you enjoy the episode.
Hey, curious people. I'm Jonathan Van Ness, and welcome back to Getting Curious. Honey, I hope you're staying cool out there. It is a hot summer. It is a hot person summer. But you guys, this is an exciting episode because we are checking back in with none other than Gretchen Rubin. If you remember, we had Gretchen on in January of this year to talk about how we could be happiness in 2024. And it was more about like New Year's resolutions and how to like stay in connection with our New Year's resolutions. And really the question there was like, is it selfish to pursue happiness in the face of awfulness around the world? Is it even possible? So when we had Gretchen on, I devised my own little plan with Gretchen on how I was going to try to be happier. Also, Gretchen's research has shown that happy people are also engaged people who are more likely to be making the world around them a better place. So it's like maybe being happier does help us be better people, but it's like the chicken or the egg. So we're just over halfway through the year, and we wanted to bring her back to check in on our goals and see where we are at. So there's really nobody better to talk about this with than the happiness expert herself. Gretchen Rubin is the author of best-selling book, The Happiness Project, and host of the podcast, Happier with Gretchen Rubin. She decided to become a writer after clerking for Sandra Day O'Connor, and since then, she's been interviewed by Oprah, she's been an answer on Jeopardy, and she walked arm in arm with the Dalai Lama. Gretchen is a total podcasting icon, and we are so excited to have her back. The question we're asking today is, am I any happier in 2024? Gretchen, welcome back to Getting Curious. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to have the chance to catch up. How's it going?
Queen, we are chugging right along. We are, it's
happening.
It is all happening. It has been a very eventful year over here on my end. And I'm just going to dive right in. So the first time that we met, it was right around New Year. I think it was right after New Year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like very beginning of January.
Yes.
And, I think anyone who listens to my podcast is probably familiar with the Rolling Stone article. And I just had never had any experience like that. It was undoubtedly unhappy. Like that experience was an unhappy one for me.
Of course. I mean,
but it also forced me to like really put into more practice of like, I literally logged out of social. I didn't look at any social, and I really got into my morning routine. And in that time, from like March to like May, I felt so much better. And I had Queer Eye to focus on, and I was like, focusing on like, shooting. But slowly what I've realized, not to be just doom and gloom, but we're just, let's be vulnerable and authentic.
Yeah.
I think as some of the shock and the despair and the just how hard that process was like started to fade away, then some of my like those better coping skills of like not spending time on social and doing a better morning routine kind of started to like slide away.
Yeah.
And then as work got really busy and I like, wrapped Queer Eye and went straight into just so much more work. I'm just like going for it. So then 6th of July that's the day that my stepdad passed away, and we were really close.
Yeah.
And every 4th of July, it's like hard because I think about him, and sometimes it's easier and sometimes it's harder. And this year it was hard. And I'm kind of back to that struggle of like, I love the people in my life. I love the things that I get to do in my life. But at the same time, I think I just forgot how to stay in touch with my well-being. It's not even happiness. It's like staying in touch with my well-being. Right. And I'm really kind of back to the drawing board, Queen, on how I want to do that. So not to be disappointing, but it didn't go great.
No. Like life happens. I mean, that's the thing. And it's interesting, just as a side note before we like really get into this, one of the things that people sometimes think is like, well, if I really am hard on myself, if I'm really harsh to myself, if I slip up or I don't achieve something that I set, it's an aim that I set for myself, if I'm really hard on myself, that'll kind of inspire me to like do better. But in fact, what the research shows is that the people who do the best at re-engaging, like you're saying, like I had this plan, and it was going to be great. And then something happened, and all these things happened. All these consequences followed that I hadn't really planned on. And now I feel like I'm sort of back where I started. It's the people who say to themselves, hey, that didn't go the way I expected, or that wasn't my best effort, or I learned that lesson the hard way, or I'll do better next time. They're the people who do the better at engaging again. So on the one hand, we want to hold ourselves to our aims if we think it's really something that's going to make us happier and healthier. But on the other hand, we want to have a lot of tenderness for ourselves and say, hey, you can learn. One of my favorite proverbs is a stumble may prevent a fall, and it's like, okay, I screwed up, but I'm going to try again. And just try again and not be too harsh on yourself. So here you are. It sounds like you're just going through, social media is a lot, and you're right in the middle of it. I mean, the way most people could never even imagine. And this is just an unprecedented thing in human history. Nobody had to deal with this. So you're kind of on the cutting edge of figuring this out. So you're a pioneer.
That is true. Because we really haven't had in human history, we've never had people just be subjected to so much feedback at one time.
Yes. Well, and social comparison is such a strong thing. I mean, and for good and for evil. And so people are comparing themselves to you. You're comparing themselves. You're reaching people on this one-to-one level on a scale that is just never before imaginable, instantaneously, every minute of the day, in multiple different platforms. I mean, it's bananas.
I think it's like, I said this to my husband, and he was like, he gave me like such this look, but I was like, babe, I think I'm addicted to social.
Yeah.
And he was like, you think?
You said that last time. Those were your very words.
Yeah. And I didn't even
yes.
But the denial is so strong.
Right.
With the and also it's not even that it's just like out and out denial. It is also like my livelihood. And it is how you communicate. And it's like you need to be aware of but it's like how much is too much. And and you try to put guidelines on it. But But enough about me. I just talked to myself for about myself fully for 8.5 minutes.
Oh, but I want to get into the but see, my sister calls me a happiness bully, because if I think there's a way for you to get happier, I'm like, let's start talking specifics.
I'm here for it.
I'm coming over to clear your closet, which I have done to her. She is my innocent bystander. But so one of the things, and I'm just curious, to hear if you tried it or if you're interested in trying this again now that you've gone through this huge experience, because what you had talked about trying last time that we spoke in January was that you were going to try managing sort of the onslaught of social media by limiting it through time. So you were going to 20 to 30 minutes max in the morning and at night for engaging, and then for scrolling, just sort of passively taking things in, 10 minutes or so in the mid-morning and after work each day. And I thought you had a really good self-insight in that you were like, if I do it first thing in the morning, I'm tired and vulnerable and really reactive. First thing in the morning, it was not a good time for you. So you were saying mid-morning. And this was a way get yourself in a calm place so that you wouldn't be impulsive. You wouldn't feel, you could kind of manage the waves that were hitting you. Did you try that, or did all this unfold before you could really implement that plan? Because as a questioner, I could see that might be satisfying for you because there's customization and tracking and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I did. And so the 10 minutes of passive scrolling, I feel went out the window. I was good at the mid-morning thing about not going on the news and not going on social till mid-morning. And I was doing my gratitude breathing, my heart-led breathing and my hot lemon water and before my coffee. And then I was working out. And so I was getting to 9:30, 10, and I wake up at 6:30 without being on the phone.
Yeah.
So
that's a good morning.
Yeah. So I was doing good. And then, obviously it would be some workout, and then I got to get ready and then do whatever I was going to do. But I was good with that. But it was almost once I don't know, once I got used to it, or if I felt just once I kind of started feeling better, I just noticed that some of the plan started to my morning plan didn't stick as well, and I didn't follow through with the wholeness of our plan about the mid-morning and then only 10 minutes and then at night. So I wouldn't have even know if it was fully going to work because I didn't do it. I didn't commit as hard to it as I needed to. I probably set the stakes too high in retrospect.
You mean did time limits were too strict and not realistic? Yeah. Well, that's why. Well, we just passed halfway day, which is July 2nd, and I think halfway day it's like New Year's Day. It's a great opportunity for reflection where you stop and you think, well, given what I've learned, what's worked, what hasn't worked, what would I do differently? So it sounds like having these set limited times works, but maybe you need to give yourself. You're just realistically, these are big tools for me. This is a way to engage with the world. I'm going to give myself more time because that's just more realistic. But then maybe you want to do something like set an alarm so that an alarm goes off at 20 minutes. And it's so you're specifically saying to yourself, okay, I heard an alarm go off and I know I'm going to feel better if I step away from this. You know what I mean? So that it's not just you noticing, because I feel a lot of times we get pulled into this stuff and you're one more. I'm right on the brink of ending, and 10 minutes go by. So sometimes an alarm can help.
Yes, that is aligning. That's resonating. Yeah. So what about your 2024? How have you been?
I've been doing okay. I some things are going well, some things are not going well. One thing, this is a very silly thing, but so one of the things that I had resolved to do was to wear socks to bed if my feet were cold, because I had read research that if your feet are cold, it's harder to fall asleep because warm feet is one of the ways that the body decides that it's safe to fall asleep. And I have really, really cold feet. So I'm okay. But what I found is I would wear socks. I would wear 2 pairs of socks. I would wear a pair of socks and slippers. I mean, I am the frumpiest person going to bed. And my feet were icy cold. I bought the dumbest thing in the world, which is an electric foot warmer, which is, again, the frumpiest thing. And I have so much respect for my husband that he doesn't make fun of me for sticking my feet into this thing every night. But it's really improved my sleep. So I had this thing to deal with my feet, and I got an electric foot warmer. And I tell you, I fall asleep faster because my body just relaxes faster.
Yes.
This show is sponsored by MIDI Health. There are great things that come with age, wisdom, experience, a love of gardening and holiday decorations, to name just a few. But if you're a woman over 40, it can also bring some less desirable things. Hot flashes, insomnia, brain fog, moodiness, and weight gain. All symptoms of menopause and perimenopause. I have friends of all ages, and I have been hearing about these symptoms for years.
Yes, hormonal transition is a fact of life, but that doesn't mean you have to accept its symptoms as just another part of aging. MIDI clinicians are menopause experts equipped to support you with safe, effective, FDA-approved medications, as well as lifestyle coaching and preventative health guidance. All their services are covered by insurance, and they're conveniently accessible through telehealth visits and 24/7 messaging. You deserve to feel great. Book your virtual visit today at joinmidi.com. That's joinmidi.com.
True story, you guys. I got to give you guys some insight into the recording of this episode. So yesterday, because now it's the next day, like what you were just listening to Gretchen talking about her New Year's accomplishments. What really happened is that the internet in the state of Texas just stopped working. And then everything froze. So now Gretchen's been really cool to help to come back. Okay, so last night I was actually thinking about you when I fell asleep because my feet felt cold. And I was like, I'm thinking of her. And it really wasn't until I do this thing where I spin my feet around each other to create friction to warm them up.
Oh, that's a good idea. I've never tried that.
I do. I spin my feet around each other to warm it up. And so I was thinking about you last night. So I was also thinking about you as I was going to sleep because I was like, man, what a healthy resolution. I love your, let's get these feet warmed up. Mine's all let's not have a self-destructive mental health episode. And yours is I'm going to keep my feet warmer. And then I was like, let's not.
I have to say that sometimes I've learned over time, it's good to make resolutions that you're this is a pretty small and straightforward resolution. I think if I put a little effort into this one, I could cross it off my list. It's nice to have ones because the bigger, transcendent, more abstract ones are the more important ones and the more challenging ones. And I've learned that it's good for my morale to get something. We have our to-do list, but you need a to-do list too. You need things you can accomplish realistically.
A to-do list.
Right? It's good to remind yourself of everything you've accomplished.
I'm writing that down. To-do list. I love that. That is, and also it's I pulled up yesterday when I was okay, fine, I'm telling on myself. I was doing a little bit of scrolling and I saw this quote that I said that I forgot that I said, which was that you can't just will confidence. Confidence is built from setting goals for yourself and then you show up for those goals. But it's if your goals are always or if your goal tends to be this really big thing that's always kind of troubled you, then you need some other ancillary goals or secondary and tertiary goals to help that confidence. Because it's if you're trying to quit drinking soda, but you've been drinking soda every day, for 20 years or something, just something that's really become more of a crutch, then you might need some other more secondary goals to build up the confidence to get there. Or maybe you just rip off the Band-Aid, who knows? But I just like the idea of more achievable, reasonable goals to help us move towards where we want to.
No, I think it's really important because I think if we set our sights so high, we can get discouraged. One of the things with resolutions, I think that helps, if you're thinking about New Year's resolutions, is always to frame the resolution as something that's concrete and specific and manageable. Because sometimes people are write a best-selling novel. And it's you can't do that for so many reasons. But it's write for an hour a day. And you can write for an hour a day and you're yes, I wrote for an hour a day. I wrote for an hour a day, 7 days a week or whatever. But sometimes it's learn Italian or get back into playing the violin. It's what does that even look like? Can you achieve that? But you're practice the violin for 20 minutes a day or practice the violin 20 minutes once a week. That's something that it feels specific and whether you've done it or not. And it's as you're moving towards that bigger aim, you can cross it off your list.
So one thing that you said yesterday that I was obsessed with, halfway day. I never knew the halfway day was a thing.
We're making it a thing right now.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that. But that's so cool because it allows us to kind of slow down, check back in with ourselves from 6 months ago. What were we feeling? What were we thinking? And one thing that you did 6 months ago in January was you launched the happiness quiz, which is So cool. What's the idea behind the happiness quiz?
So it's called the Habits for Happiness quiz. And the reason that I did it is because, I write about happiness. And so people would often come to me and they're like, okay, well, what should I do if I want to be happier? And I would say, well, I can't tell you because it really depends. It depends on what your challenges are. It depends on what your aims are, your interests, your values, it's all these things. And people would be like, yeah, but just tell me what's the one habit I should do if I want to be happier? And so it was really kind of unsatisfying. So I thought, I'll create a quiz. So I worked with this really brilliant team, and with only 8 questions, which seems kind of unbelievable that in just 8 questions, you could get to such a transcendent answer. It will say, what is the habit for you? Not just for a person in the world, but for you, Jonathan Van Ness, that would make the biggest difference in your happiness right now. And it's funny because in the quiz, I say, if you could magically do something. And it's because if we think about what we really realistically can do, sometimes we get discouraged or even scared. And so we don't admit to ourselves even what we want. So the quiz tries to let you think well, if there was no effort, if you really could just have what you wanted, what would that be? And so it spits out an answer that's tailored for you right now, because maybe in a year you would have a different answer. But right now, what is on your mind? What is it that you really are seeking? What do you feel like you would want to be happier? And these fall into 8 categories. It's energy, purpose, creativity, productivity, meaningful consumption, meaningful investment. Meaningful consumption is am I consuming media or food or drink in a healthful way? That's one of the areas. And so this is really exciting because now when people are like, well, what should I do if I want to be happier? I'm like, well, take the quiz and then you'll find out because you've told yourself.
I want to stay more in touch with my heart and my spirit and my humanity and share that. But I don't want to put myself up for so much unsolicited feedback, so much unsolicited critique. So I think that this happiness habits quiz habits for happiness quiz is going to help.
And then it has suggestions of things to do and resources to kind of get you started. One of the things, I don't know if this will work for you, Jonathan, but one of the things for meaningful consumption is, might you turn your phone to grayscale so that it's in black and white and gray instead of in color? Because it's a lot harder to use your phone when it's in grayscale, and it's super easy to do on a smartphone. It's like watching your grandparents' black and white TV set. And so it's just harder to use and less entrancing, because stuff just doesn't look as good. So anyway, there's a lot of examples there to help people get started once they get their answer.
That's so genius. Because have I told you about how obsessed I am with Fortnite?
No.
That game. It's this really fun game on PS5.
Oh, I've
and
heard
Xbox
of it. Of
and
course,
Switch,
it's huge.
It's so fun. It's so addicting. But part of it, Queen, is the color. It's so pretty. The world that they make is so bright and so vivid. And I'm a sucker for turquoise water, just clear water. And there is the leaves, the grass, the water, everything is just stunning.
Do you want to know something bonkers that happened to me? I turned my phone to grayscale for a while. And I started to feel like the world was looking brighter.
Really?
Because, the colors in your phone are illuminated from the back. And so they're really they're shining. And I think it was just dimming the real world. And maybe this is just my psychological thing, right? I don't know that it actually happened, but it felt like it happened. It felt like the world got brighter.
That's beautiful.
Or terrifying.
This message is sponsored by Greenlight. A new school year is starting soon, and personally, I can't believe I have a 9th grader on my hands. If you're a parent, you want to make this new school year an opportunity for your kids to learn important life skills and continue building independence. For that, I recommend Greenlight.
Greenlight is a debit card and money app for families where kids learn how to save, invest, and spend wisely, and parents can keep an eye on kids' new money habits. Then there's Greenlight's Infinity Plan, which includes the same access to financial literacy education that makes Greenlight a valuable resource for millions of parents and kids, plus built-in safety to give you peace of mind.
Jack has green light, and it was so great that when he was on a trip to Japan, I was able to just keep track of what he was spending, but he felt very much in control of his finances.
Sign up for Greenlight today and get your first month free when you go to greenlight.com/happier. That's greenlight.com/happier to try Greenlight for free. Greenlight.com/happier.
Shifting my wardrobe from summer to fall is always a challenge. Luckily, Quince offers timeless and high-quality items I adore, ensuring my wardrobe stays fresh and I don't blow my budget. Gretchen, both of us absolutely love Quince's Mongolian cashmere sweaters, which come in so many great colors. My goal for fall is to get the green color that you have.
Yes, Elizabeth, I brought that green sweater on a recent trip together and you were eyeing it. Quince has cashmere sweaters for $50, pants for every occasion, washable silk tops, and so much more. And the best part, all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Make switching seasons a breeze with Quince's high-quality closet essentials. Go to quince.com/Gretchen for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/Gretchen to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Gretchen. I want to let you all in on a little secret. As a family, we used to waste hours a week going up and down the grocery aisles for the best, freshest fruits, vegetables, and meats, and still be disappointed. Now we use FreshDirect. We love FreshDirect. We save so much time every week. We can grocery shop from the office, from the couch, anytime we want. We've used it for years.
FreshDirect is farm to kitchen, food sourced directly from farmers, fishermen, and ranchers and delivered straight to your door. For over 20 years, FreshDirect has been delivering the freshest fruits, vegetables, and meats to the tri-state area. Don't take our word for it. Try it to believe it with $50 off your first order. Go to freshdirect.com and use code HAPPIER. That's freshdirect.com, code HAPPIER for new customers to save $50 on their first order. Terms and restrictions apply. See site for details.
Because the people have been taking the Habits for Happiness quiz for a little while now. Is there like a way for you to like see like what most people are falling on? Like, is there like what are people going through?
And by the way, anybody can take it for free. It's at GretchenRubin.com/quiz. You can just look for it there. Here's the thing that really, tell me if this surprises you, because this surprised me. Okay, because we've got these 8 categories. So it's purpose, order, relationships, meaningful consumption, meaningful investment, all these things. The category that scored the highest was creativity. And so creativity, like people could have like different versions of creativity. So creativity might have meant identifying a new interest. Like that's the answer that I got because I really want to get into watercolor. So I want to cultivate a new interest, a new creative interest. Then there are people who get the result that they want to deepen an existing creative interest, like you. Like if you were really like still thinking that you wanted to get back into the violin, you might have gotten that answer. And then one is for people who they really want the aspect of creativity where it's more about tapping into their feeling of adventure and play. So it's like the part of creativity that's about like the fun, the recess, that aspect of it. But of all the categories, that was the one that was the biggest. And at first it surprised me. And then I was like, well, maybe this makes sense because we kind of know we should be getting sleep. We know we should be exercising. We know we should be spending more time with our friends. We know. And so maybe when people are taking this and they're really like thinking big, this is something that they're tapping into that they hadn't thought about before. And so it's kind of coming up as an answer. What do you think? Are you surprised by that?
Well, at first when you said it, I was. And then as I kept thinking, I thought, well, like so much of my joy and like my really unbridled, like childlike happiness comes from figure skating, gymnastics, like jewelry, because like jewelry reminds me of like rocks, and like rocks were like my first love. So, but they're all like kind of creative things. So it's like if you were wanting more joy, then yeah, like maybe it would be coming from there.
So that's interesting. But if you had like what the number one like absolute answer is for meaningful progress on making consistent progress on an aim. So like the biggest category is people want to be creative. But if there's like, what is the one habit that most people want? It's like, okay, whatever it is that I want to make consistent progress. And that was not surprising to me because I think that's something that just about everybody wants to do a better job of, which is whatever it is I'm doing, can I just make more consistent progress?
So once someone's taken the Habits for Happiness quiz, how can we bring more creativity into our lives and bring about more happiness?
Well, again, it depends on who you are and what you want and what kind of things you like to do. And so one of the things I think is really fun to do is at the beginning of every year, or you could do it for halfway day, is you could do, like I did a 24 for 24 list where I wrote down 24 things that I wanted to do in 2024. And some were big, like learn to watercolor, and some were really small, like, deal with my cold feet or whatever. And so that can be a fun way to like keep ourselves on track. Anytime we make something into a habit, that makes us more likely to follow through if it's something that's important. Because a lot of times the things that we want to do aren't things that we can just do once and get done. Like, sure, you can like clean out the basement and be done with it. But most things, it's like you want to exercise consistently forever, or you want to eat healthfully mostly as much as possible. Or you want to stop using your phone for an hour before bed or whatever it is. And so then it's like, it's very helpful to think about, well, what would that look like in terms of being a habit? Because that way it's present in your life more, it's present in your space more. I mean, one interesting thing to say to yourself is, if something's important to you, look and see, is it in my calendar? Is it on my schedule? Is it in my surroundings? And am I paying for it in some way? Because, like, not to be extravagant, but things that are important to us, they probably are costing something. Like you had to buy a new yoga mat because the dog chewed up your yoga mat or whatever. Like things that are important, they appear on the schedule and they appear in our surroundings. And then usually like they appear in our bank account in some way, in our spending. And so that's something that's interesting. If you're like, well, am I following through on the things that I say that I want to be doing? It's like, okay, surrounding, schedule, spending.
I really think I have to have like an ADHD sale. Like all the things that I've impulsed.
I love this idea. I think people would flock to it.
Well, I'm just like looking at, like there's this like one room, I call it my capitalist guilt and shame room, where all the shit that I bought, like, expensive bags, like really nice shoes, like stuff that I like, it's like the same part of me that got triggered by like collecting rocks or like having like collections as a kid. Yes. Like I started doing that with these like luxury things.
Yes.
And now it's like, instead of feeling joyful when I look at them, because I realized when we interviewed Tori Dunlap last year, her first 100K, I like love her. But I realized that like of the things that I've impulse bought, there's probably like 20% that I would like really just be devastated if I didn't have. Like that means 80% of the shit that I've bought is stuff that I could take or leave. Like it was for this quick little validation cycle in my brain. And then it's over. And then I never really like wear it till the cows come home. Like I'm obviously not, needing it that bad. Cause like there's things that I don't even play with or look at for a long time.
Right.
And so it's just like the ways that like, one thing I've noticed about me, I love how I just get so deep with you, but it's like logically, like in my brain, because I do have this like fast processor, I logically understand things, but I don't take the time to like slow down and like actually process it to the point where it affects my behavior. I think this is a great, because I kept thinking about this in different things that you were saying. It's this idea of impulsivity. And I think that one of the things when you're happier, when you're better rested, when you're calmer, like when we have a better sense of perspective, like when the things around us feel like we're not in the middle of chaos, then we can take a breath and not do something impulsively, whether that's like firing back in the comments or like hitting, one click with a purchase. Because impulsivity so often, like how often do you sit down, think through, and make a significant mistake? You know what I mean? Sure, it happens sometimes, but it's much more that like people are tired, they're stressed, they're rushing, they're angry, they're upset, they feel attacked. And then it's that impulse. And so I think that's one of the reasons also why being happier can help us do a better job in the world for other people, because we can take that breath and have that perspective. Or somebody is yelling in your face and you're able to like say,
oh, wow, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that I cut in line. Have you ever done that? Like there's like a gigantic line and you somehow don't even see the line and say like, you go marching up to the front. I did that recently. But then to have like the soft answer and like not always to go to this place of like of
rigidity and like, I have to do this right now.
Yeah. And snapping back. And so I think impulse buying, impulse responding, impulse conversation. I think that's another way why being happier helps us to do a better job in the world.
And it's like, for me personally, it's like, if I notice that I'm being like extra impulsive or like really rigid around my impulsivity, like I'm probably like really triggered or like there's like a part up and I should like take that as a note to like slow down.
But it's so hard to notice, right? That's the key. It's like, how do you notice you're being impulsive? That's the problem, right? But if you could do that, then it's not impulsive anymore.
That's so true. But that is like where, because like even like my house, like I love our house, but we moved like when we were shooting Queer Eye in New Orleans, like we had this like smaller house. And I was like, oh, I feel like I just don't get alone time. Like I always have people around me. Like, so instead of me like, being like, hey, let me be done with work at 5 so I can have more alone time. I was like, I need a bigger house so I can work all the time. And then I just won't have to see my team when they're around. So I'll just have a bigger house. So now I bought this way fucking more expensive house that's way bigger, way harder to manage, stresses me the fuck out. And so it's like, even like big things like that. It's like, now I'm in this bigger house and I've been here for almost 2 years, but it's like, it was not, and like Austin's not in like the greatest real estate place right now. So it's just like, there's all these ways that I see like my impulsiveness like hurting me later. Where at the time you couldn't have talked me out of it. Like I was, but it was kind of impulsive and I didn't really think it through.
But I think part of like, this is a good example of something that I think happens to all of us, which is we feel that there's a problem and we change what feels easier to change rather than like what the actual problem is. And so it's like a friend of mine who was like, well, I'm going to quit my job as a lawyer because I hate being a lawyer. But it turned out she really didn't like her commute. And when she fixed her commute, she's like, oh, my law job is fine. Because she just hadn't taken the time to analyze like what was actually wrong. Or you often see this with relationships where like somebody's feeling really dissatisfied with themselves. And so they say, oh, it's not me, it's you. If I switch partners, then I'll feel fine. But it's like, no, you're going to be,
because no matter where you go, there you are.
Right, exactly. But it feels like, well, if I just change partners, then this will, or I'll move, or I'll buy a new house, or, it just sometimes you reach for something, or you're like, I'll renovate the kitchen and that'll like make me feel better. And it's like, no, maybe. But if the problem really isn't that you don't have enough countertops, it might be that renovating the kitchen won't make you feel any better when it's over.
And then you're just fucking disappointed because you did all this work and then you're still,
Yes. Right. Because you're like, it didn't solve the problem.
Yes.
Because I didn't know what the problem was. So I think part of it is but I hadn't never connected this idea to impulsivity. And I think that's a really good point, which is that part of impulsivity is saying like, oh, I know what the problem is. I know how to fix it. And then it might take 6 months to bring it about. But the impulsivity came in the jumping to the thing of like, I know what the problem is. Instead of saying, let me make sure I'm identifying the correct problem.
Let me be curious about this and let me like,
Yes. Really think through what is a friend of mine said she was going to move apartments and she said, oh, I told my real estate broker I wanted outdoor space. But then I realized I really want a husband. It's like, okay, that's a good thing to know.
That's like a legitimate human need. Like you want more connection, you want more community.
Right. But outdoor space is it might be very nice, but it's not going to solve that problem. But it took her a long time to identify. That's one of my, I have 12 commandments for my own happiness, and identify the problem is one of them, because so often I don't stop to identify the actual problem. And so if I'm trying to solve it, it doesn't get solved because I didn't know what the problem was. And sometimes the problem, like I know somebody who's like, I never cook, I hate to cook, blah, 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 blah. I never eat healthy because I don't like to cook. But then when I really pushed her on it, it turned out she didn't like grocery shopping. Like my husband loves to go to grocery shopping. He once went 3 times to a grocery store in one day, loves grocery store shopping. But some people really don't like it. And then she had a roommate. And so that she's like, oh, well, my roommate will do the grocery shopping. And then I'm fine cooking. Like she just had misidentified where the exact problem was, because not liking grocery shopping is not the same thing as not liking cooking.
Totally.
They're related, but they're completely different. And so she had a different solution.
Queen, we are doing the damn thing. Now, one more thing. What's What is productive progression?
Right. Well, this is when people are making consistent progress on whatever aim it is. So you might be wanting to write a novel in your free time or finish your PhD or figure out how you're going to sell your house or whatever it might be. And it's like, can you make consistent progress towards that? And, there's a lot of different ways that people do it. One way people do it is they do a don't break the chain. Like I created this don't break the chain journal because so many people feel very energized by this idea of like, I'm going to do it every day for 2,037 days or whatever. Sometimes it's breaking things down into smaller parts and just moving yourself through a checklist. Sometimes it's like setting aside time on your schedule, creating accountability with other people. There's a lot of ways that we can help ourselves make consistent progress, but you sort of have to realize that that's what's frustrating you, that in some aspect in your life, you're not making the consistent progress towards whatever the aim you have for yourself.
So it's mid-July and we have 6 more months in 2024.
Yep.
And I don't want to say for the rest of the year because I want to do manageable goals. But I'm going to say till August 1st, I'm going no scrolling, like no comments. Like I'm not looking at my comments and I'm not looking at my story mentions. Like I'm not looking at
those.
You're
scrolling, you're taking in other people's things, but you're not engaging with people's comments for you. Okay, so now I'm going to push you in a couple ways. So is there somebody around you who's going to be looking in the comments so you feel like, look, if I really need to know that something's happening in the comments, somebody I trust is got my back.
My social media manager or my publicist I know will do this.
Okay, so you don't need to be like paranoid, like, oh my gosh, nobody knows what's going on in there. Who knows? Because they know and they'll tell you. And then do you want them to do something like give you some kind of report? Like, do you feel like you want to have a vague sense or you just want to step away from it?
I think I want to step away, but I do think one thing that would be good is like, there are just so many like amazingly supportive, sweet, kind people who have supported me over the years. And I have, because of the negativity bias, was like engaging with people that weren't them. So I think like for really sweet, good things, like I'd love to engage with like those people more because they deserve it and they've supported me. And I want to support the people who support me.
So you want to say to your social media team, if there's something that I'm sure they know the kind of thing that would like touch your heart. Like if there's something that you think I would really want to see, can you like flag it for me so I can
type
like,
you
get
a
in
response
there
and give it to you and you can reply.
Right. So you feel like you do have that connection, which is really important and valuable to you and to the people who love your work, but you're protecting yourself because you're not just in the rushing stream of like the constant refresh of like, who knows what's coming up.
Yes.
So it's till August 1st. You're not going to go in there at all. They're going to report to you on like any kind of major trend or anything that's like super special that they think you want to see.
And that's what I'm going to stick to. And we're going to check back in and see if my mental health space feels more centered, like more from my centered self and not from my people pleaser. Because I think that really is who gets so triggered by the negative feedback is like my people pleaser. Because as much as I want to say like, I don't care what people think about me, my people pleaser, like that part of me is in diametric opposition to that. Like my people pleaser gives a lot of shit about what people think about me. So but I don't want my people pleaser driving my car. I want my centered self driving my car. So I want to see if this will help me be more centered.
Yeah.
Which would be happier.
I'm excited to hear how it goes. I mean, this feels realistic. I think it's great that you're giving yourself like a set time. So you're not committing to something just endlessly. Like you can see how it goes. You can tweak it. You can find out if there's things that you're missing that you want, or if you feel amazing and great and free.
I think it could be the last one. We'll see. But I think it could be the last one. You guys, GretchenRubin.com/quiz. Habits for Happiness quiz is available now. Take it. Let's all get happier together. And meanwhile, Gretchen Rubin, thank you so much for coming back on Getting Curious. And maybe next time we have you on, we could do it in person in New York.
Yes, that would be so much fun. I would love that. And I am so eager to hear how your experiment goes. Like, I'm so curious.
Yes.
I'm getting curious.
Yes. I love it. I love it. That's what we're going to do. And I also, as long as I'm just tacking things on, I like this morning, because like I sleep with my phone next to my bed, but it's just so easy to like, I'm like, well, I won't get on social media first thing, but the news is not social media. And then I read the news, but then I get so fucking depressed. Not that I don't want to read the news, because I mean, I come from a broadcast family. I love the news, but I think I'm going to stop. I got to go back to my thing of like my hot water, my Metamucil, my coffee, my little workout before I read the news. So I just don't start from like a sad place.
You've mentioned several times that you feel like you're kind of vulnerable in the morning, and also that it sets the tone for your whole day. And so it feels like you really dialing in on your morning is a really, really good idea.
Yeah. And I did the last 2 mornings.
So you kind of drifted away from that. Yeah. So go back
Except for
to
this
that.
morning, I'm such a liar. I got to call it out right when I say I did read the news this morning. It made me feel anxious. But then I like got out of there and like played with my dogs and I felt better. But yeah. Okay.
It'll still be there.
It's so true.
It'll still be there.
Always something to work on, Gretchen. There's always something to work on.
Yeah, I know. That's what I know. The infinite project that we are for ourselves.
And then also just last thing I would say is I put this stuff that in my hair that we're testing for like a potential new product. And I'm not sure, but it's nice.
It looks good.
Yeah, it's good. I'm here for it. So that's exciting.
Shiny.
Gretchen, thanks for coming on Getting Curious. You're the best.
Oh, I enjoyed it so much. You're the best.
So how much do we love Gretchen Rubin, you guys? And also like, we love Gretchen Rubin. Love that she came on the pod. Hope you guys are doing great. And we will see you next week on Getting Curious. Bye, guys. Love you.
Well, we hope you're feeling more happier after this episode. We really enjoyed this conversation. Hope you enjoyed listening. The best time to start a happiness project is 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
And she always has gotten hot when she goes to sleep.
Oh,
are you still there?
For me.
Oh, come on, internet.
Do you think he knows we can't hear him?
Fuck. And our internet just went out.
Oh, now he's
Our
gone.
internet just went out, Chris. Oh no. It says like refresh. I'm scared it's not gonna upload. Okay, let me just should I like leave and try to come back?
Yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead and come back. I've got an upload thing.
From the Onward Project.
If you've ever been in the market for a new home, you know home shopping can be a lot. There's so much you don't know and so much you need to know. What are the neighborhoods like? What are the schools like? Who is the agent who knows the listing or neighborhood best? And why can't all this information just be in one place?
Well, now it is on Homes.com. They've got everything you need to know about the listing itself, but even better. They've got comprehensive neighborhood guides and detailed reports about local schools. And their agent directory helps you see the agent's current listings and sales history. Homes.com collaboration tools make it easier than ever to share all this information with your family. It's a whole cul-de-sac of home shopping information all at your fingertips. Homes.com. We've done your homework.